Yeah, I spoke to Kelly after that match against Jason Shaw, and she felt it was just a couple of shots, and that at this level, you make one or two mistakes, you can get punished very heavily for it. And she was certainly reminded of that against Jason Shaw. But again, she felt, like you, Phil, that she hadn't done a great deal wrong in that match.
And you'll hear that sentiment echoed an awful lot over the next 8 days, because in these race to fives, which for these guys and girls is an absolute sprint, you can basically be blown off the table because your opponent has an inspirational run and you simply don't get much of a chance.
Yeah, they are short matches, as you say. I think for a knockout event it wouldn't work, but when you consider they're all going to play 15 matches in this phase of the tournament alone, even with the relatively short duration of the matches, I do feel class will out in the end. And if you're unlucky to lose a few, well, there might be some matches you win where you feel you've been a bit fortunate. So I think we will see the 10 best players over the 5 days get through, even though, as we say, it is just race to 5. And he talked about the O must go. Well, Max Lechner will certainly be hoping that's the case for him. He's 0 from 3 so far, but he's 2-0 up now against Alex Kazakis on the other table.
Any win at the Derby City Classic is to be admired, especially in the 9-ball this year, with so many entrants, well over 400. To go over there into the American heartland and capture that title tells you an awful lot about the improvements that Sanchez Ruiz has made. Called the Derby City Classic, by the way, because it was originally played in Louisville, home of the Kentucky Derby. Now it's moved to a casino in southern Indiana, not too far away, so across the state line.
Yeah, and in addition to that success, he did very well in all of the Euro Tour events that were played in 2021. He won 2 of them. And they're nowhere near as high profile as an event like this, but they get strong fields and they're long matches, usually race to 9, so they're hard won.
Now, I think contact on the 9-ball might have done him a favour there. OK, it's meant there's distance between cue ball and 8-ball here, but it looked to me as though the white might have been heading in the vicinity of the middle pocket. Positional halfway house.
Attention, please.
And cutting back into these brutally cut middle pockets, this could go astray. Make no mistake. Took his time, advisably so, and just like that, Sanchez Ruiz wins the opening rack. You know, what he did at the Derby City Classic proved that nice guys do finish first.
I never played Premier League format, but I'm really excited to play. But I think it's a short race, but there is a lot of matches, so it's really interesting. I love to play with the 16 player, probably the best player in the world. I feel really good to stay here. I try my best. I know it's going to be tough because it's a lot of good players, but this short race, race to 5, everything can happen.
Yes, it is a short race, but Michael made a really good point. You know, if you are involved in 15 matches, if you win or lose all of them, 5-0, that's 75 racks. Right. If you play the maximum number of racks you can be involved in over this first phase, it's 135. an awful lot of pool, and that will sort out the best.
Well, when we were here for the Championship League around about this time last year, Kelly Fisher was involved. It was all races to 5 then. And she started getting wins over some very good players early on, but really underlined, actually, that it was no flash in the pan because she kept on getting good results against some of the best players around. Was very competitive in that. Carl Boyes actually said earlier on that he feels she'll win enough matches to be among the 10 players to get through to the next phase. Now, that's a big call. But it wouldn't be all that different to what she did here last year. .43 years of age now. She's been around the Q Sports scene for such a long time. It was all the way back in 1998 when she won the Women's World Championship for the first time. Won it 5 times in all, and that was in the era when they were all being played at the Crucible. After the last of those in 2003, that was when she decided women's snooker wasn't going in the direction she was hoping, and joined her namesake Alison Fisher and Karen Corr and 1 or 2 others in trying her hand at the American pool scene. And like those two, she's done so with great success. And this is a fine response, Phil.
Yes, and the 8-ball just emphasising how simple it is to screw the ball back on this table, which is so reactive. She screwed it back too much, actually. But no mistake with the 9. And so very swiftly, Kelly Fisher is back on level terms. It's 1 rack each. Also still in the early stages over on table 2, where Max Lechner leads Alexander Kazakis 2-1 in the latest contest over there. Let's just take a snippet of the action. Well, Lechner didn't make the bank, but he does have partial cover.
Yeah, it's only the first day of 5, but if Lechner was to lose this one, finish the day having played 4 and lost them all, already he's looking for not quite a flawless run from there, but certainly couldn't afford to lose too many more if he was going to get through. He's in the unusual position of playing 4 matches today. Most players are playing 3.
Well, that was a tremendous jump shot from the Greek number 1. We'll keep you right up to date with what occurs over there as and when the scoreline changes. Well, there was movement on that 9-ball, wasn't there? Almost went in. But now look at this 1-9 combination.
Yeah, we've seen 3 golden breaks already today. We're close to another one, but you suspect this rack is about to come to a very swift end.
Yeah, apart from a golden break, you can't get much more rapido than that. Kelly Fisher was only briefly on level terms. Now, Francisco Sanchez Ruiz is back in front, albeit only narrowly, at 2-1. this is a unique pool event, the Predator Q's Premier League pool. 16 players, all taking on each other in one initial round-robin group. At the end of 5 days, only 10 will survive. The other 6 will be eliminated.
Yeah, and all the wins that you get in the first phase will carry forward to the second phase. So it's all very well scraping through, but if you do that with the minimum number of wins required, whatever that turns out to be, you're already leaving yourself with a lot to do going into the second phase. So every match really does count.
Yes, and conversely, if you can win 12 or more wins in this stage, you'd be looking really good to make it to stage 3, as Fisher pots one more ball than she'd bargained for. And she certainly pots one more ball than she'd bargained for there, i.e. Michael the White. That.
Start the clock, please.
If the 3 and the 4 weren't so awkwardly placed, that would be the death knell.
Yeah, she's played all right so far in this match, but there, as she was alluding to in that chat I had with her earlier, just one mistake here and there can end up being decisive at this level, particularly when it's just race to 5.
Extension, please.
And that's the sort of unforced error she can really do without. Over on the other table, incidentally, Alex Kazakis has turned things around. He was 2-0 down against Max Lechner. He's now level at 2-all, and he's in play with a good chance to go in front for the first time. Well, that's brilliantly done. Look at that now. As you say, the balls were tied up, but now, all of a sudden, it's a real chance to lead 3-1. Took a bit of working out that, and then the execution wasn't straightforward either.
Yes, his decision to take his extension was well and truly vindicated. That's what he needed the time for, to work out the geometry, and that was one of the shots of the day, Michael.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those that just opens up the whole rack, and then it's just a matter of minding your business. Feels like we've barely started the match, but already Sanchez Ruiz is going to be more than halfway to victory. A victory he really needs at the start he's made. And that's 3-1.
And much more like the player who has had so much success over the last 12 months or so. Kelly Fisher twice coming up against opponents who are full of self-belief and who are knocking in balls and making the game look much easier than it actually is. Let's take a peek onto table 2. As Michael said, it's all tied up, but Kazakis at the table looking to edge ahead. What he's doing is remarkable, because he only flew into the country this morning from the Ho Chunk Casino in Wisconsin Dells, a town known for its water parks. Well, he wasn't treading water when he won the tournament there at the weekend, the Wisconsin Open, $25,000 worth.
And he's quite definitely turned the tide here.
There's only room for one punster in town, Michael. There's only room for one.
Well, you'll better clear off out of it then.
You
tell me.
Mr. Sanchez Ruiz.
And we'll have those water puns on tap for the rest of the evening, no doubt. Anyway, back to more serious matters. And Sanchez Ruiz, very comfortable here, 3-1 up as he breaks.
Yeah, one of those breaks that is perfectly effective, apart from the fact that the 3-ball rather inconveniently blocks the path to the 2. And even if it wasn't there, the 8-ball would be blocking the path for the 2 to go into the pocket.
Push out call.
This is a segment of the game that intrigues me. What is the best push out?
Option.
Well, there's no simple answer. What might be good against one opponent isn't good against another. What might be good on one table, again, isn't good on another. It's all about feel and percentages and just doing what you believe is the right thing at the right time.
And a bit of mind games going on as well. Trying to lure your opponent into something that perhaps they shouldn't play. If you leave a shot, they can almost feel, all right, you don't think I'm going to fancy this? Well, I'll prove you wrong. It's probably not the right way to think, but all of that comes into it as well. I think someday someone's going to end up doing a PhD on the psychology of the push out.
I do believe that there is an edge of the 2 sticking out.
You look at the quality of the players and the positions they have in the new world ranking system, Phil. Kelly Fisher really is going to be so up against it here. As I said, she did get some wins last year in the Championship League format, but if she keeps getting beaten over the first couple of days and finding it hard to keep up with the standards, she could easily get bogged down. That was how her Championship League campaign actually ended last year. The last group she was in, she lost a couple of matches early on and seemed to lose all confidence. Ended up losing all her matches in that group. But she knows the level she's competing against. She knows she's very much the outsider in this field.
Now that was the way forward. I think even if he could have made a thin contact, then you're losing control of the cue ball by hitting the 2 off the cushion first. He's placed Fisher in some trouble. Not in terms of hitting the 2, should do that, but where it goes, no one knows. Well, where it's gone is over a pocket.
Yeah, and you could tell a lot from her body language there. She knew just as the balls were coming to rest that she hadn't had the bit of luck she needed. And looking at the position of the balls, she knows the next time she gets out of that chair might be to play the next rack. Really did have a very good 2021. Mentioned those Euro Tour events where he emerged as the champion. But in some of the bigger events, he was a quarter-finalist in the World Championship, lost narrowly to Oliver Szolnocki, and also got to the last 16 of the US Open. So it's not as if he's just had 1 or 2 decent tournaments recently. It's been a consistent run over the last year or so.
Not happy with that, mind you. undercooked it.
John Lehman, the referee in the background, he's another person who only arrived today.
Yes, he was telling me about his journey from Wisconsin, flew into Newark, an airport that is very close to his home, went home, spent a few hours there, then caught the transatlantic flight here. So I would assume that he would sleep soundly this evening.
Yeah, he was saying to me he'll have been on the go for about 36 hours by the time he actually does get to bed tonight.
Now this is a test of cueing. It was quite jabby, wasn't it, Michael?
Yeah, and the difficulty of these pockets just puts a little bit of extra anxiety in players' minds on shots like that. I think we've seen that playing anything at pace from any kind of distance into these pockets is very, very difficult. So potential turning point this, Phil. Looked just a few moments ago for all the world like Kelly Fisher was going 4-1 down, instead of which she's going to close to 3-2, and of course she'll have the break now in the next rack.
Genuinely renewed hope for Fisher. It wasn't an easy 8-ball for Sanchez Ruiz. I'm surprised he missed it. He did not pass the test of cueing, and consequently he was punished for it. By the way, while that was going on the other table, there you can see the mistake from the Spaniard. On the other table, thanks to an intricate double with cue ball and object ball close together, that was on the 7-ball. Alexander Kazakis won rack 6 and has taken a 4-2 lead over Maximilian Lechner. We're always looking for turning points in cue sports matches, and sometimes they're obvious. Maybe we've just seen one there.
Yeah, and moments like that are going to be so important for Kelly Fisher throughout this campaign because, as I've said, she's up against players who are all basically on a different level to her. So when she gets a little bit of a gift like that, she's going to have to mop up those situations.
Our current score is 3-2 in favor of
Make the best of everything she's given. She certainly did it there. She's back in the match at 3-2 down.
She was no slouch with a break-off against Jason Shaw this afternoon. But this one, not so good.
Yeah, first dry break from either player. Comes in rack 6. Could have turned out a good deal worse, though.
Push out called.
Now that's one of the characteristics, one of the rules of the push-out. You can basically do anything you like, apart from going off, of course. So Sanchez Ruiz thought that getting the cue ball there was best facilitated by knocking in a ball, in this case, the 5. because of the 2 and the 6. Small margins here to make contact with the 1. And there's always the possibility of scratching.
Extension, please.
Well, talk about turning a negative into a positive. What a cracking shot that was.
Yeah, absolutely. Now Fisher right under it here. Just took the few extra seconds with the extension to figure it out.
Extension, please.
Truly great shots have 2 aspects to them. One, execution. The other, conception. That was so well thought out and so well played.
Oh, that really never looked like achieving its desired objective. So we talk about turning points, but sometimes just because they look like being a turning point, they don't turn out to be. And now Fisher could very easily find herself 4-2 down here. Bit embarrassing, really, when it happens like that.
10 seconds.
It's not entirely routine, though. Well.
Went for early glory.
Yeah, no, he's the one who's looking a bit embarrassed.
Thought he could make the 1-9 combination. The 9 across the rail.
10 seconds.
But a much more straightforward combination on offer here to get him off and running. Mentioned Kelly Fisher's snooker prowess. Francisco Sanchez Ruiz has shown some of that himself. 3 years ago, he qualified for the Gibraltar Open snooker, a world ranking tournament, and won his first round match against Martin O'Donnell, who has been a top 32 player and who actually played really well in that match. Several big breaks, including a century, but Sanchez Ruiz beat him and then played the former world champion Ken Doherty in the second round. It was 3-0 down, got it back to 3-2 before going down 4-2. But he had done enough by then to show everyone he had genuine credentials on the snooker table.
Well, he's played 2 shots in this match that are in the top 5 all day. The shot to develop the 3 and the 4, and then the obtaining a snooker out of 1 at the start of this rack. Brilliant stuff.
Good going also from Alex Kazakis on the other table. He was 2-0 down against Max Lechner, but he's 2 balls away now from completing a 5-2 win, which will make it 2 wins out of 2 for him so far this evening. And rounds off a fairly miserable day for Lechner. He's played 4, lost the lot.
For Kazakis, it's a jump of 6 different time zones from America's Dairyland, Wisconsin, to Milton Keynes. But he's not batted an eyelid. A little bit of shoulder in that one from Sanchez Ruiz, but the 8-ball rattled down the rail anyway. And now, after a couple of absolutely awesome shots in this match, he's doubling up on Kelly Fisher. The Spaniard leads 4-2. When a European pool player comes back from the States
42.
with a major title in his luggage, then you know he's playing well.
To break on the hill.
It was a slow start today for Francisco Sanchez Ruiz, but in this match against Kelly Fisher, he has shown very sharp shot making. Oh dear me, though.
Foul.
The disappearance of the white off the break. Never, ever recommended.
Start the clock, please.
Already back into action on the other table. It's a clash of the runners-up from the two biggest events of last year, Omar Al-Shaheen and Alucius Yap, as I think we've now clarified it's pronounced. You mentioned earlier, Phil, that Yap is the current Singapore snooker champion. Do you know who he beat in the final?
I do. A former world billiards champion, Peter Gilchrist.
Yeah, it's been out there for some time. Well, Shaheen has already taken the opening rack there with a 1-9 combo. And speaking of being Q Sports all-rounders, Kelly Fisher has actually won the Women's World Billiards Championship on a couple of occasions, so she must be the only person who's won world titles at snooker, pool and billiards. She also won the inaugural US Women's Straight Pool Championship back in October. She beat Joshua Filler's wife, Pia, in the final.
The cue ball ran on a little more than she wanted there, so this is quite a thin cut. I would still forecast she makes it, but now there's a question mark.
Yeah, knew that if she did miss it, it was probably end of match. So all the more to her credit that she did make the pot. And she's still hanging in, 4-3 down.
And I think the fact that Sanchez Ruiz has got off to such a slow start will intensify the pressure for him. Now, let's just take a quick look over onto table 2, where Yap is breaking off. Oh dear me. Again, thwarted to get through to the 1. Your heart must be in your mouth when the balls go around the table like that and stop in this manner. In this case, it's the 5 ball doing Al Shaheen's bidding.
Push out code.
As I said before, with a push out, you don't need to make any contact on any ball. You can make contact with all of them if you want to.
Our current score
It's
is 4-3 in
open season.
favor of Mr. Sanchez Ruiz. Miss Fisher to break.
Well, she launched herself at that one. Ball spotted this time. Dry break averted. But look where the cue ball came to rest.
10 seconds.
Push out called.
Nominates the push out, as she has to do with a big sigh.
Yeah, I think she feels she hasn't quite got the running today across her 2 matches. And the outcome of that shot will certainly not have done anything to dissuade her from that opinion. I remember the first time I ever saw a push out. It was the first time I ever watched 9-ball pool. Steve Miserak did it, and I was new to the game. I thought he'd lost his mind for a moment until the concept of the push out was explained. It's a quirky feature of the game, but a really interesting one.
Yeah, there are 2 kinds of thinkers, aren't there? Lateral thinkers and literal thinkers. I think if you're the former, the push out is for you. If you're the latter, it might be rather confusing.
Well, we've just had lateral, literal, and latter all in one sentence. That's confusing enough, Phil.
Well, we're definitely literal thinkers, Michael, me and you, so we'd be all over the place with the push out.
Our inability to play to a high level would probably get in our way first, though.
Extension, please.
There is John Lehman. Talk about colourful characters. He's had quite an acting career away from pool.
Well, the Oscar for terrific pot goes to Sanchez Ruiz. Look at this. And the kiss at the end worked out delightfully. So delightfully, he felt the need to apologise.
Given the colour and shape of the ball he potted, you could say it was a Golden Globe.
You're worse than me. Just wants to kill the match off now. Get a point on the board.
Yeah, it's his last match of the day. And he'll be fine with that. 1 win out of 3. Still so much to play. It's also the last time we're going to see Kelly Fisher today.
10 seconds.
But we may not yet have seen the last of her in this match. This is a real chance to take it hill-hill. Sanchez Ruiz has made a bit of a mess of that. This is what I was saying earlier, Phil. Anything that's handed to her, any unexpected errors, any opportunities she didn't see coming her way, she's got to tidy those up, make the most of them. Certainly applies in this situation. But that man will have the break in the deciding rack, which now looks as though it's inevitably going to happen. And just as we were saying, that Sanchez Ruiz was looking to kill this off quickly. Now real doubts as to whether he's going to win at all.
It is the third match today that has gone to the wire. Earlier on, Naoki Oi, he beat Mieszko Fortunski 5-4. Same Joshua Filler over Omar Al-Shaheen. And now Fisher and Francisco Sanchez Ruiz go the distance. These kind of situations are always pressurised, but when you consider neither player has a win yet, and they're both desperate to get off the mark, this next rack, well, for them it could be the most important they play in the entire tournament.
Just while we're waiting for this deciding rack to start, bringing you up to date in the other table, Omar Al-Shaheen in no time at all has gone 2-0 up on a Lucius Yap. Well, huge rack for Kelly Fisher, because if she loses it, she might feel she's not done a great deal wrong today and has ended up with 2 defeats out of 2. But if she could take it, a real feather in her cap to beat someone who's been in such good form recently. She might feel completely differently about what lies ahead over the next few days. Sanchez Ruiz, though, with the break.
Balls going down all over the place, and a clear shot at the 2.
One of the things which makes 9-ball such a psychologically tough game. You do all that work to get it to a hill-hill finish, and then you might be able to have no impact whatsoever on what happens from there. That's the fate Fisher must be fearing now. Or maybe not.
Fisher reprieved by the 9-ball. Well, indirectly, it was a positional error that cost Sanchez Ruiz in the previous rack. This one could be likewise.
Foul.
Well, especially so after that, just trying to play with running side and make a thin contact on the red 3 ball. He made no contact at all.
I think the key factor in Fischer still being in this match has been how effective she's been at capitalising on the mistakes from Sanchez Ruiz. She's got to show that again here. And really, she's just gone favourite. She was 4-2 down, remember?
What an outcome. What a turnaround. That puts the cap on it. A Fischer fight back. As Michael said, she was 2 down with 3.